When it comes to crime stories, we all think that fiction writers have the market cornered on all the shocking twists. But what if I told you the most mind-bending, unbelievable plots aren't in novels at all? What if they're sitting right there in the pages of actual police files?
I mean, seriously, think about it. We love a good fictional mystery, right? It's got that neat, tidy solution, the detective lays out all the clues, the mastermind gets unmasked, and everything goes back to normal. It's a puzzle, and it's satisfying.
But real life, it almost never gives you that clean ending. In the world of true crime, the twists come from somewhere else, from the chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying depths of actual human behavior. Today, we are diving into cases where the truth is so bizarre, it honestly makes fiction look tame.
So, let's start with maybe the most chilling idea in all of true crime. The monster who looks just like us. The person whose evil is completely invisible until it's way, way too late.
I mean, just look at this. For 30 years, Dennis Rader was a pillar of his community in Kansas, a church leader, a doting family man, but this wasn't just some clever disguise. It was a textbook example of what they call psychopathic masking. He built this perfect persona of total normality, and behind it was the sadistic BTK killer who was terrorizing Wichita. His averageness, that was his greatest weapon.
And this is just a terrifying pattern, isn't it? We saw the exact same thing with Christopher Watts. The devoted father who murdered his entire family and then went on national television pleading for them to come home, flawlessly playing the part of a distraught husband. The twist wasn't just the crime itself, but the absolute perfection of the mask he wore.
All right, let's shift gears to our next theme, because this is where it gets even more complicated. Sometimes the initial crime, no matter how huge, is really just the opening act. The real twist is what happens next, the bloody aftermath, when a so-called perfect plan spirals into something so much worse.
For just a moment, the 1978 Lufthansa's heist was the perfect crime. Almost $6 million gone in an hour, not a single shot fired. But the mastermind, Jimmy Burke, he got paranoid. And the real story here isn't the robbery, it's the brutal cleanup job. He started a systematic execution of pretty much everyone involved. A second, much more gruesome crime designed to cover the first one.
And now we're entering a realm of pure deception. These are stories where reality gets warped, not by quick, sudden violence, but by lies so deep, so profound, that they shatter our sense of safety in our own homes, with our own families.
So get this. This is the absolutely astounding case of Frederick Bourdin. Back in 1997, he somehow convinced a family in Texas that he was their son, Nicholas Barclay, who had been missing for 3 years. But just look at the facts here. The real Nicholas had blue eyes, Bourdin's are brown. He was a blonde kid from Texas. Bourdin was a dark-haired man with a thick French accent, and somehow the family took him in.
But here comes the second, and much more sinister, twist. Bourdin himself later claimed the family knew he was a fake the whole time. He actually theorized that they accepted him because his presence covered up a much darker secret, their own possible involvement in what really happened to their son. Suddenly, the story goes from a bizarre impersonation to a potential conspiracy of silence.
What's more terrifying than an imposter you let into your home? How about an uninvited guest you don't even know is there? At the remote Hinterkaifeck farm, an entire family was brutally murdered. But the real horror, the thing that will give you chills, is what happened in the days before. The family had found footprints in the snow leading to the house, but not away. They heard footsteps in the attic. They found a strange newspaper. The killer was living with them, a silent predator, right under their own roof, before committing the massacre.
Some twists don't just erupt in a moment of violence. They unspool, slowly, revealing a level of cold calculation or psychological manipulation that is just almost impossible to wrap your head around.
Take a guy like Ari Squire. He was facing prison for fraud, but he didn't just plan to run. He planned to be completely reborn. The twist here is the cold, clinical, four-step logic of his plan. He lured an innocent young man, Justin Newman, not out of passion or revenge, but just to use his body as a prop. Justin wasn't even a person to him. He was just the final, necessary piece in a cold-blooded escape plan.
And if you think that was wild, manipulation can get even more bizarre. In the Jan Broberg case, a family friend, a neighbor, didn't use force. He used a story. He convinced the entire Broberg family of this complex alien mission that required their daughter.
He was literally weaponizing a sci-fi fantasy to groom them, gain their absolute trust, and commit a very real, very devastating crime. So what is it about these true stories that haunt us so much more than fiction? Well, I think it comes down to one final, really unsettling twist. The silence that comes after. The total, complete lack of a clean ending. Fictional stories, they're built to give us closure. You know the scene. The detective gathers everyone in the library, explains the motive, points a finger at the killer. Every question gets an answer, justice is served, and order is restored.
But reality? It offers no such comfort. The person who lived in that attic and murdered the entire family at Hinterkaifeck never identified. 100 years later, the case is still cold, and the killer is just a ghost. There's no final chapter.
And that nearly $6 million from the Lufthansa heist? Poof. It just vanished. A dozen people were murdered for that money, but the prize that sparked all that bloodshed was never, ever found. It's just a trail of bodies that leads to an empty vault. And that, right there, is the ultimate terror of true crime. It's a reminder that not every mystery gets solved, and not every monster gets caught. The final twist is that reality doesn't owe us an ending, which leaves us all to wonder what other unbelievable truths are hiding right there, in plain sight.